Welcome to your Tech News Today, a podcast about keeping you informed and empowered by giving you the latest tech stories that impact your daily life. We'll get started in just a moment. Right now, we'd like to recognize our partners who help make this podcast possible. It's Tuesday, November 13th. I'm Mike James. Coming up in a bit, hackers cause havoc for national healthcare officials. Plus, Amazon and Apple sign on the dotted line for a landmark deal with international implications. And you're not alone. Or are you? A new study shows strong links between sadness and the time you spend on social media.
The test environment ought to be kept at least as secure as the production environment, and I'm not sure that's always the case. Just as we're trying to understand the behavior of the system before it goes live, think about somebody doing an attack. They're doing the same thing. They want an opportunity to see a system while it's laid bare. They want to see a system while people are working with it.
We start with the healthcare hack causing concerns for many before the December deadline. By now, you should know hackers have used their criminal minds to make headlines in a wide variety of noteworthy news stories. Back in 2015, of course, hackers sent divorce lawyers scrambling as a group known as the Impact Team leaked more than 25 gigabytes of company data from the adult hookup site Ashley Madison. Of course, you can't say the word hacker and not think of Edward Snowden uncorking top secret information about the NSA spy program. While the latest hacker target to make headlines, Healthcare.gov. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services confirmed in a post on their site that hackers gained inappropriate access to information concerning thousands of applicants. Several reports kept the breach vague, but those same reports did say that the hackers got into certain accounts of specialists that are in place to walk customers through the sign-up process for select healthcare plans. Now, what kind of information did these hackers get their hands on? Nothing much, just your basic laundry list of everything we prefer to keep private. Social security numbers, immigration status, and some tax information. Little stuff like that. Government officials did share a silver lining to the hack. They found no bank account information or credit card information was taken in the mass security breach. So there is that. Roughly 75,000 healthcare accounts were hacked, a number that many reports believe will change in the coming days and weeks. Timing really is everything in this story. The hackers, in this case, cracked into the site as millions of people are trying to sign up for healthcare benefits before the December 15th deadline. For many, the feeling of being violated is valid, concerning that nearly 12 million people signed up for the healthcare coverage just last year. Lastly, I know what you're thinking, and I'm thinking the same thing. We are left with more questions than answers. The how and why behind the hacker's plan is still being sorted out by experts. And moving on now as we dive into the details of the latest deal between Apple and Amazon. Yes, I said the deal between Apple and Amazon. First off, what do you think an Apple and Amazon boardroom meeting looks like and sounds like? Is it stuffy, filled with a bunch of legal mumbo-jumbo, or is it just a casual chat with the you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours mentality followed by a handshake and a high five? Either way, I would pay some good money to be a fly on the wall during these negotiations. Each massive company recently reached a deal to beef up listings for Apple products on Amazon. Well, of course, timing is everything, right? Now, let me check my calendar. We'll look at that. Only 10 days away from Black Friday, 12 days from Cyber Monday. Christmas is just around the corner. Coinkerdink? I think not. Here's what to expect in the coming weeks. Amazon will have new listings for Apple products, and we are talking everything from the iPad Pro, the iPhone XR and the XS, the Apple Watch Series 4, and the Beats headphones from Apple. Not a bad sample of products, especially the headphones, because who hasn't lost one or both of the Apple wireless earbuds? Now, the Apple-Amazon deal isn't just for shoppers right here in the good old United States of America. The UK, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Japan, and India all are getting in on the action as well. Lost in this arrangement is the fact that Apple and Amazon are, in a way, rival companies who are both currently selling a coveted commodity. Apple's HomePod smart speaker is the one product you won't see featured on Amazon. Why? It's simply because the HomePod goes head-to-head against Amazon Echo devices. By now, you're hearing this and thinking, well, I've been seeing Apple products on Amazon for years now. And that is true, but those are coming from third-party vendors. Those sellers who are looking to sell new and used Apple products on Amazon will see the listings disappear sometime in early January of 2019. And if you're looking to sell any type of Apple product on Amazon going forward, you will have to apply with Apple and get the stamp of approval from the tech giant to be certified authorized reseller on Amazon. Just ahead, the strings of sadness are tied together with how you use social media. Next, we explain what researchers have found. And right now, let me tell you about the Epson Fast Photo Scanner. Kim may be America's digital pro, but even she enjoys forgetting about the tech when it comes to the new Epson Fast Photo Scanner. Scan stacks of photos from wallet size to 8x10, even Polaroids. Fast Photo offers automatic two-sided scanning, so you can capture any handwritten notes on the back of photos, damaged or faded photos. Fast Photo has the software to automatically restore your memories. And best of all, it's easy. Order yours today when you visit Epson.com/fastphoto. That's Epson.com/fastphoto. More news from Commando.com. If you don't know who Dr. Bernie Brown is, just ask your girlfriend, wife, Siri, significant other, or Alexa to get you up to speed. Dr. Brown is a motivational quote machine, and one thing she said caught my attention and flows well with our next story. She said, "I define connection as the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued." Okay, so social media gives us the chance and the outlet to be seen and heard, but do we feel valued? Well, that complicated question was presented to some research gurus at the University of Pennsylvania. And that Ivy League group found that social media is not a solution to the tangible connection we humans rely on daily. In fact, researchers went on to find that our time spent on Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter increases depression and loneliness. And if that's true, every millennial might need to find a way to get a prescription for Xanax, maybe some Prozac thrown in, just in case. Study looked at social media from close to 143 college-aged students, and the end goal was to measure fear of missing out, anxiety, depression, loneliness. What experts found came down to subjects experiencing an increased level of social comparison due to what the students saw as social media. Maybe the subjects weren't out at the new trendy nightclub with friends, or they didn't have the latest stylish kicks to wear around the campus. Either way, social media projected an unrealistic image that several of the subjects felt that they couldn't live up to, and therefore promoted depression and loneliness. Experts conducting the study say stopping social media altogether was not the answer. Instead, they encouraged those feeling inadequate to limit time on their favorite social media apps and suggested they continue to connect with real people in person. Sorry, kids, FaceTime does not count. Hey, remember the awesome land speeder that Luke Skywalker had in the original Star Wars movie? I mean, the very first one? It was basically a super fast hovercraft that flew just a couple feet above the ground. Well, believe it or not, that type of technology might just become a reality sooner rather than later. In fact, Dubai police have already started training officers on how to ride on them. A company called Hover Surf has developed a hover bike called the S3 2019. It's basically a flying bike that can reach up to 60 miles per hour. It has 4 rotors that allow it to take off vertically and then get up to 16 feet off the ground. The bad news is it can only be ridden between 10 and 15 minutes at a time at this point. The other problem is the price. The hover bike is being sold for nearly $150,000. That can be pretty spendy for a police department trying to put together an entire fleet of them. According to CNN, Dubai police are training with the new tech as part of a first responder unit used to access hard-to-reach areas. The police force only has one of the bikes right now, but hopes to have close to 40 by the year 2020, only in Dubai. And as of late, there has been nothing normal about the 9-to-5 grind for thousands of people employed by Nordstrom's. the retail giant was forced to notify employees of a widespread security breach. Investigators found that employees' names, social security numbers, personal banking information, and salaries were all exposed. Now keep in mind, roughly 75,000 people nationwide work full or part-time at Nordstrom's. A Nordstrom's spokesperson confirmed to several media outlets that no customer data was implicated. From statements gathered, this does not appear to be a group of hackers targeting Nordstrom's. Instead, the investigation points to a contracted worker who had access to the employee database. The company has an information security team, and they discovered something was seriously wrong in early October. That contracted worker has not been identified, but officials on the Nordstrom side say that worker no longer has access to the sensitive files. That might be a good idea. To help recover from the security breach, Nordstrom is offering affected employees 24 months of identity theft protection services provided by All Clear ID. And coming up next, ESP and your smart TV. One big box brand sees if your sixth sense could control what you want to watch. Right now, a quick thank you to our friends who help make these podcasts possible. Okay, this story is very cool and super helpful to those with disabilities. Samsung is teaming up with scientists in Switzerland on some groundbreaking technology. They're working on a new line of smart TVs that can be controlled with your mind instead of a remote. It's part of Project Pontus. The goal is to help build software that would interact with the brain to change channels and adjust the volume of the television. Now, imagine how great this would be for people with movement disabilities. There are already systems like this in place for other devices. Those systems use brain monitoring sensors along with eye tracking hardware to identify selections the person intends to make. Project Pontus looks to take the technology even further. The idea is to create a new system that only uses brainwaves to recognize adjustments the viewer wants to make. So you'd only need to think about turning the volume down, and just like that, it's lowered. The project is still in the early stages, but Samsung hopes to have a prototype ready sometime next year. Hey, do you have one of those smart assistant-enabled speakers yet? They're so helpful with tasks around the house that millions of people already have at least one of them in their home. Amazon's Alexa-enabled gadgets are probably the most popular so far. One concern that people have about these devices is the loss of privacy. They have microphones built in to let you communicate with the device, and they are always listening. At least that's what detectives in New Hampshire are hoping. A local judge ruled last week that Amazon must hand over recordings made by an Echo device last year at the scene of a double murder. Not only does Amazon have to turn over recordings, but also other data associated with the Echo, like what smartphones were paired with it at the time of the murders. Detectives believe there is evidence on the Echo, including recordings of the crime and events that followed. Police took the Echo as evidence during the investigation of the crime scene. Amazon told the AP that it would not give up any data without a valid and binding legal demand that is properly served. So what do you think? Should Amazon be forced to hand over this type of information to police, or is it a breach of privacy? By the way, once you're done listening to this podcast, if you like it, let others know about it. Share it on Twitter and Facebook and wherever you do your social media. We appreciate that. It helps more people find us. And finally, for today's Commando Kicker, what would you do with an inflatable colon? That's a question many were asking when a large inflatable colon was recently stolen from someone's driveway. Kansas City police announced less than a month later that they had received a tip that led them to a vacant house where it was at. Before it was stolen, the colon was used at the University of Kansas Cancer Center as an educational tool for community events. While it was missing, the Cancer Center raised over $11,000 to replace it. So now they have an extra colon. Put the kids out there. It's the new bounce house, honey. For more fun and interesting facts, go to Commando.com and search for the Commando Kicker. That's our tech news today. Hey, don't forget to check out our other podcasts this week on History in the Highway with Stan Ellsworth. We take an in-depth look at some of the veterans that help make our freedom possible. You can find that podcast at podnet.com or just search History and the Highway on your favorite podcast player. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.